back to Diary of a Single Mother. I'm sitting with my mom today, and we're going to be talking about dating as a single mother. And I'm just going to ask her a few questions, and she's going to give you guys some insight and advice on dating as a single woman. So without any further ado, if you'd like to introduce yourself, Mom.
Sure. My name is Shakita. I'm Brandy's mom. I am 50 years old. I've been married for 26 years, and I have 4 daughters, ages 30, 27, 26, and 23.
25. I'm 25.
Oh, okay. See, that's what happens when you have 4 children.
I'm
You cannot
25.
keep up with the ages. Also, I have 3 grandchildren, 2 boys and 1 girl.
Yeah, you do actually. I
I do.
forgot about Ari.
I do.
Okay, so when you were a single mom, how old were you when you started dating?
I was 19 years old when I had my first daughter, so I started dating prior to that. But as a parent, I was 19 years old, and I also had a 10-month-old. So actually, I had a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old, and I was single during that time. And so I dated whenever there was time allotted for me to date. I did work. I also was a full-time student, and so primarily on the weekends, I would have time to date.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of women out there like me who desire to be married, and some of them are eager to date. And in this generation, in this kind of society, it's actually odd to be single and to raise your kids single. I mean, it happens quite often, but with more of pressure from society to date and be with somebody or be married by 30. I think the age is now, they say you have to be married by 30, that you got your life all together. What would you say to that? Did you guys have those kind of society influences when you were...
We did. I mean, they're the same from generation to generation. I know I had desired to be married, and it didn't work out, and I ended up having children before marriage. But however, I still desired to be married, and what I did during that time is, because being a full-time student, also being employed full-time, and taking care of 2 daughters. I made a point that I pretty much prepared for the wife that I wanted to be. And so home was always taken care of. My children was always taken care of. And so when I had extra time, or I had time that I needed to just, spend some me time to be able to get out, then I choose to date.
Okay. Were you a habitual dater? And what I mean by that is, were you always dating somebody? Did you always feel the need to be talking to somebody or entertaining somebody?
No,
You were okay being alone?
I'm an introvert, and so I normally did not go out to date. Normally, a guy would strike a conversation with me, and I was very picky.
But y'all didn't have social media back then. So let's take it back. How do you even meet somebody with a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old and no social media?
Well, we had pagers back then. We had the telephone booth.
But back then, what I'm saying is, you guys actually had to meet somewhere, or had maybe a friend had told you about something. Because it's now easier to be on social media and slide in somebody's DMs and start talking and dating. But back then, y'all didn't have social media. Y'all actually had to meet face to face or talk face to face before you could page or call or whatever the case is. What I'm saying is, it seems more accessible now.
Okay, well, for me, because I worked in a medical office, I was had the privilege of just meeting people. Guys would come in for their dental treatments or their medical treatments. Also, I didn't have transportation, so I had to rely on public transportation. So I would, meet, and I had to commute. I had to commute for an hour one way to work. And so I would meet working men, on the train or on the bus.
So just from being out is how you guys
every
met.
day, just every day going to and from work.
And that I mentioned that because that's a change then than it is now. Today's world, we have social media, and it's so much easier to meet people that you have never seen or talk to people that you've never really talked to or met before, because social media is so comfortable. Everybody makes it so comfortable to strike conversations up. So,
well, I'm old school. So, all the meeting guys on Facebook and social media and even the internet and this internet dating, I mean, that was just unheard of back then.
Yeah, because there's
we were personable people. We strike conversations with people, whether it was in McDonald's when I was taking my girls to get something to eat, or even just in the park. We would meet people, and so that was how people met each other. It's through the parks, through the restaurants, through the public transportation.
So what would you say now to maybe some of our viewers who may be online dating on sites such as like Christian Mingle or BlackPeopleMeet.com or on those sites? What would be some of your warnings maybe for them, dating on social media? Because that's a thing. Not everybody meets face-to-face before they exchange numbers or...
Well, first I would say just use wisdom. A lot of times when you're on those sites, of course, things are going to be hidden. People's just not going to tell the truth of who they are. And so there's going to be a facade out there.
Or what they look like.
Or what
they filters.
Like. They may even copy and paste somebody else's picture.
Catfish.
But just use wisdom. I don't believe that is the best way to find a date. Like I said, just your everyday life. You just doing life every day. You would end up running into someone. I'm my daughter will call me a hola roller. So, but even in church nowadays, you can't find no men. So I'm not going to give you that idea.
Don't go to church and find them.
Well, no, you shouldn't be going to church anyway looking for a man. You should be going looking for the man. And his name is Jesus Christ. And so just use wisdom when you're out there on those sites. As a single parent, raising two girls, my focus really wasn't on dating. Dating was just extra. First of all, being single, that tells you that there had to be some type of heartbreak or some type of dysfunction with the family because I was a single parent. And so, you have all that heartbreak and you have all that baggage. I think, the best advice I would give you is to really, really spend those times with your children. And, because I'm a woman of God, I believe that when you do that, when you put family first, meaning your children, God would see to it that he would bring you a mate. And so, but there's nothing wrong with dating. I mean, you can even go, we're in the season of Thanksgiving. You can be invited to go to a Thanksgiving dinner, and you can meet someone, that's a friend of that family that you go to. So it's all kind of ways that you can
meet people,
and
other than the internet.
I think the internet and social media, that's not a good way to meet. To date.
You don't know what you're getting.
You don't know what
until you done wasted 6 months of your time.
Yes.
So,
and another thing that just came to mind, and I'm going to use my daughter as an example. When you go off to college,
just
focus
on the books.
The books.
Focus on the
Or when you go into the military,
focus
on the career. Because, there's going to be lots of men. There's lots of boys walking around the campuses. There's lots of men walking, on the bases nowadays. So,
and if I could just be honest, when you're in college focusing on the books, that really is the best thing to do because it's the start to your life. And at that point, you're not maybe you are, but I wasn't that mature to really know what I was getting myself into. I quickly found out, but focus on the books.
Focus on the books. You know, there's plenty of time to date. There's plenty of time to date. And sometimes you don't even have to consider it a date. You meet someone, I'm talking about those, say you go to that family house for a Thanksgiving dinner. And, you know, that can be the date right there, sitting across the table from that person. And all you're doing is conversating and just making conversation. And I mean, it may lead to him asking you to go out. But, you know, if you think of it as a date, then
I think your feelings are already involved as a date. Whereas if you go to it as a friendship, right? Yeah. If you go to it as, you know, this is a friendship, then when something else develops, you know, you're not expecting it, you're not anticipating it, but you both are on a friendship level. Okay. So another question I have for you, Mom. What are some conversation must-haves that you would have with your date or a person that you're dating as a single mom as it pertains to your kids? What are some must-have conversations?
Well, I would just let them know that, you know, I'm aware that this is a date. And so, but I also want you to know that I'm a single parent, and you know, however many children you have, you want to go ahead and disclose that information. And also, you want to let your date know, you know, that you may not have time to talk on the phone. You may not have time to go out on another date, you know, within a week or 2 weeks. So
it could be a slow process because you have kids and you're a single mother. So a sign that it probably ain't going too well is if everything is moving way too fast because you don't have time for that, you know. And I think what you said, Mom, was a good point. You know, I don't have time to be talking and texting all day, every day. You know, texting and talking all day, every day. I have kids that, you know, need this, need that. You got to do things after work, after a full day of work. You know, this phone is not glued to my hand all day to be having steady conversation constantly. Right. That all out there and be upfront that, you know, I don't have all the time you may think I have. You know, when was it considered, what would you consider a date? When do you start dating?
Well, you know, you first have to have that initial meeting where you meet each other. Sometimes it just that initial meeting, you just sharing stories or conversating, and then it may turn out to be that you be asked to go out on a date. And if you are asked and you find that the person that you're conversating with, if you have an interest in that individual, then you know you can go on a date. That's the only way you're going to get to know an individual is if you go out and spend some time with them.
Okay. What was your if you had one? What would you find is the biggest challenge to dating?
Time management. Time. That would be the biggest challenge, is just finding the time. As a single parent, you don't have a whole lot of time on your hands. So it would be finding the time. You know, I would suggest that if you desire to date, you know, after being at home with children, you know, you can only talk to the little ones for so long. You need an adult conversation. So if you can, I think it's a must that you should go out and date. And I say that also because, you know, a lot of times with women, we have a lot of friends, a lot of girlfriends. And so that's totally different. You need to be able to go out and have a date with someone of the opposite sex so that you can know what you're compatible to.
Yeah, still to know that you still got it, like me.
I'm gonna whoop her when we done.
Yeah. Okay, Mom. When you were dating and single before you were married, what was your biggest fear?
My biggest fear was Protecting, it was always a matter of protecting my daughters. My biggest fear was introducing them to someone too soon. And so because of that, I did not introduce my children to any of my dates. Actually, my daughters met my husband. And at that time, there was a commitment. There was an engagement.
Okay. And speaking of your fears of not introducing us to any of your dates too soon, what do you think is a good length of time? Or
I wouldn't put a timetable on it. I would go more on how is the relationship going. If your date cares a lot about you, that is attentive to your needs, they can show some type of love towards you. I wouldn't introduce your date to, if they're not a loving person or outgoing person that love kids, I wouldn't introduce your date to your children. Ever.
Until
I think you know it. It's you know it. You would know
it'll be the time.
Because actually the way that you would know it is your date would begin to talk about your children. Not ask about your children, but they would talk about your children. They may even give you little gifts to give to your children. Or they may even suggest, hey, let's go on a date, but let's take the kids to, somewhere like Chuck E. Cheese or somewhere that's a fun place for the kids. And I think if you date, they would include your children. Correct.
Without a problem, and you won't have to ask.
You wouldn't ask, no. It would be something that is naturally done. In that way, you know that person is sincere about you.
I agree. Okay. What advice would you give all the single mom viewers dating a man, or all the single dad viewers dating a woman? What would be some solid advice on dating just in general as a single person with kids? What are some things to look out for? Maybe some red flags, things to steer absolutely clear from, priorities.
Mm-hmm. You want to, in the beginning, you definitely want to set boundaries. You want to look out for someone who is, if they're not patient, then they're not going to be patient with your children. Because children need someone who will be patient with them. If they don't have a liking to children, that's a red flag. It would, even if they had children.
Do they take care of their children?
Talk about their children.
Do they take care of their children?
I would hope so.
That's a real one, Mom, because sometimes you meet somebody, they don't even acknowledge the fact that they have children.
Well, there should be no date number 2.
Talk about their children.
I think on the first date that you
think it's acceptable to talk about children on the first date?
I think it is, because you have to. They want to know about you, so you can't hide that you have children. You can.
They're gonna find out.
But they'll find out. But that's not it. You want to include your children. Whoever you go out with, they have to accept you and your children. And so then they're going to also have to know that your time is for your children, their first priority. So there may not be a second date if they indicate that they don't like children, or they're not going to respect,
the time that you have to give, or the time you don't have to give.
So that'd just be a waste of your time.
So move on.
Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah.
Okay, well, this concludes dating as a single mom, and I thank you, Mom, for sharing.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a whole lot of information.
Gave us enough.
I didn't. This was about dating. So, I didn't date.
Mom, did you get lucky? You didn't have to date a whole bunch. You just found Prince Charming one time and you didn't have to go through all these dates and you didn't have to explain to people, look, I don't have time to talk. I don't have time to kick it. You didn't have to do none of that. I find that as a challenge. I always have to say, I don't have time. I can't this weekend. I'll constantly have to say no. You just had all the time in the world.
I didn't have those challenges. I was very fortunate to have family and friend support. That was because I was a student and because I worked. I had to depend on family and close friends to be able to care for my children before work and after work. To pick up from daycare and whatnot. But I didn't really go on a lot of dates. I really didn't. And I was very selective because what it was they had to be worthy of my time. And so they had to be worthy of my time because my time was precious to me. And there had to be something about that individual that I was interested in.
I think that's a good point, that they had to be worthy of your time. Because sometimes we don't care if it's worthy of our time. We just want to talk to somebody else other than the kids. No. Or be out of loneliness. You just, talk to, I wouldn't just say any old body, but really any old body.
And I think my mindset was, I had always desired to be married. And so I didn't have time to date. I was looking for my husband. Well, I wasn't looking for my husband.
You was waiting.
I was waiting on my husband. And so, like I said, I was very selective in who I dated. I didn't go on many dates. I knew many people, but I didn't go on many dates.
Well, this concludes dating. If I had to wrap this up in one or two words, I would just say take your time with dating. Make sure that the person is right for you and somebody that you think would be there in the long haul for your kids, and that they would be compatible with each other. And what was your last piece of advice?
My advice would be, don't be so focused on dating. Take care of your children. Your children need you. You'll never get that time back when they're small or whatever their ages are. There's important seasons in their lives and in your lives. So, I know as a single parent, you desire to have a companion. You desire to have that friendship or communication.
A complete family unit.
Dating is not a family unit.
I'm saying that's the part of dating is the desire to have, because a lot of single women of that have children, their perception of what the family looks like is all distorted now.
It's very distorted.
So some of us just want to put a family back together so we don't have to look like the single mom with 2, 3 kids, 4 kids, etc. Because there's a stigma that comes with that. So some of us just want to place somebody there so it looks like a family. And it may be toe up from the flow up, but at least it looks like a family.
That's not good. I think you have to, I believe you have to love yourself enough to know that you're worthy, and that you're a great treasure to some man out there. And I think if your priorities are very important. I believe that when you are being a mother, a man is going to take notice to that. Because he's going to, if he desires children, he's going to desire a woman that takes care of their children. And so I think you can just be. I don't understand why women want to go out and date. First, I don't see how they have time to do it. But I mean, I don't see why they want to go on a date, because normally those are the ones that they're attracted to. That's how they got in a situation with as a single parent, because they are attracted to having a friend or having a boo, my boo thing, So leave boo thing alone and
focus on the children.
And focus on the children. The husband will come, and it's going to be a husband that sees a woman taking care of her children. They're going to see the strength that it takes to be able to be a single parent. They're going to see the kindness and the compassion that you have towards your children. And that's going to spark something in them. They may have, men out there that date. A lot of them have desires to be married, but they also know what type of wife they want. And so, they desire to be married. They desire to have children and raise a family. And so if you can be a good example, just being you, and take care of your children, then, that person's going to come into your life. And normally they're going to come into your life when you least expect it. I know my husband came into my life. I happened to be out with some friends, and it was really my first time going somewhere to have fun with my friends. And I met my future husband. I didn't know he was going to be a future husband, but that's how we met. And so one of the things that he was attracted was because I wasn't loose. I wasn't out loose. Now, granted, I had just turned 21, and I went to an officers club on one of the military army bases, and I wasn't in the club dancing and shaking my booty and just cutting up. I was sitting at the table, and
with your pinky up.
It was something. I was sitting at the table, and that spoke volumes to him, that I wasn't in the mix with my friends, and basically I didn't belong. I didn't belong there. I didn't fit. And so he desired to have a wife. And
look who it is. That's him.
That's my boo bang.
That's him, y'all. Yes, Dad. A couple more minutes. Okay. Bye.
I gotta go.
Well, Dad said it's a wrap. So it is a wrap for this segment. Thank you guys for tuning in with me and my mom. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.